Hello everyone, this is Suresh from Azure ADB. Today our topic is how to use random.uniform function in Python. So random.uniform, it will generate random float numbers. If you see this function in Python, we normally use to generate a random floating point number within the specified range. And if you see the syntax, random dot uniform a comma b. So here a is lower limit of the specified range and b is upper limit of the specified range. And what will get written is it returns a random floating number from the specified range. So random floating number. Okay, so under random, we have different functions. So I already made videos on rand function, rand integer, and uniform. So after saying this, maybe you'll get confused when to use random.uniform, when to use rand, and when to use rand integer. So before explaining brief about uniform, first I will tell you about difference between these three functions. So first rand. So this generates floating point number between 0 and 1. Okay, so this is about rand. And if you come to random dot rand integer, so it will generate integer number. Okay, so here float number, here integer number. So these are discrete values. So here, if you see syntax, see here a comma b, no? So same thing, syntax for rand integer also. So random dot rand int a comma b. But if you see here, a must be smaller than or equal to b. Okay, so that means if I take random dot rand integer 5 comma 2, it should be always a must be smaller than or equal to b. So that means you can mention 1 comma 10. So that is fine, or at least equal to. Suppose in case if you mention random dot rand integer 5 comma 2, okay, then it will throw you error. This value error it will throw you. Okay, so this is the syntax random dot rand integer a comma b. So now difference between rand and rand integer is rand it will generate float number which between 0 and 1. But in case of rand integer, it will produce integer value or you can say discrete values. But here condition is this a must be smaller than or equal to b. Okay, if it is greater than, then it will throw you error. But in case of random dot uniform, so this will generate float point number, but we need to specify the range. So if you see in rand function, so here also it will generate float point number, but by default it will generate between 0 and 1. But in case of uniform, we need to specify the range. So here the result is inclusive of a and b. If you see in syntax, if I mentioned 1 comma 10, so the random values will generate including 1 and 10 also. So that is the meaning. And this is the syntax. And random dot uniform will give you output as float value. And these are all continuous values. So here, main difference between rand integer and rand uniform is, so a can be either small or larger number than b. So both it will work. So this is the difference between rand int and rand uniform. Okay, so now we'll go to our main topic, random.uniform. So first I'm using help function on random.uniform. So here it giving you help. like first it giving the syntax uniform a comma b. It will so telling that you will get a random number in the range a comma b. So depending on rounding, so you can round it off. So default you will get float number. If you want, you can round it off. So that's about help. So next we'll see first example. So I want to generate a random float number between 0 and 1. Okay, so first I'm importing required functions, import random, and from SQL functions, I'm giving alias f. Okay, so since I want to generate float number between 0 and 1, so I'm writing here random dot uniform, and I'm mentioning my a comma b value 0 and 1. So what it generate is random dot uniform, it will generate float number. Okay, so this is a float number, but this value is between 0 and 1. So if I run one more time, so this value will change, but always will be between 0 and 1. See, 0.0. So earlier it is 0.2. Okay. So next, I want to generate between 1 and 10. So random dot uniform, A and B values are 1 and 10. So it's generating value 8.570. And if I try to run one more time, it will give you a different number. See, now it's giving 6.3. Okay, so next I want to generate a random float number between -10 and 10. So here A is -10, B is 10. So by default it's generating 7.5796. If I try to run one more time, it will give you different number. See, since we have starting point is -10, so now it's giving -6. So for each and every run, it will give you different random number. Next, we'll see how to loop. So I want to generate multiple floating random numbers. So for that, what I'm doing, I'm looping for I in range of 5. So I want to generate from 0 to 4, five random numbers I want to generate. So for that, what I'm doing, random dot uniform, I want to generate between 10 to 20. So if you see here, see, finally, I want to generate total five random values. See here, so I'm getting total 5, but these random float numbers, it is range between 10 to 20. See, here there is not less than 10 and more greater than 20. So it's generating values between 10 and 20. So now we are getting these float values. Okay, so now I want to make it round it off. So like integer values I want to generate. So what I'm doing, suppose I want to generate float number between 1 and 100, both included. So that means even 1 and 100 also to be considered. So random dot uniform 1 comma 100. So first what I'm doing, printing x. Printing x means first it generating some default random number that is float type. Okay, so this is float type. And second one, I am trying to round off up to 4 decimals. Okay, round until last 4 digits. You see here 2157. So 4 digits. And next I am trying round 0. That means I need 0 decimals. See here it's generating 12. Okay, so like this we can round it off. Next, I want to generate a random float between 1 and 1. So I am doing random dot uniform 1 comma 1. So see normally if you see this condition for random uniform, A can be smaller or larger than B. and the result is inclusive of A and B. So random.uniform, it allows even if both A and B numbers are equal. Okay, but if you see it generating one, okay, default float value. So this every time will generate one only. So how many times will run? It will generate one only. And here I am trying to generate float value between 10 and 1. So see here, my A number is 10 and B is 1. If you see a difference between random.uniform and random.integer, see random.uniform, it allows A can be smaller or larger. Okay. So if I give A as bigger number, that is 10, but still it will give you the number. See, I want to generate between 10 and 1, so it giving me 2.8. Okay. So in case of random.uniform, it will work for this case also. If A is greater than B also, it will work. So next, I am trying to give A as 1 and B as 1 point. Okay, these many decimals I'm giving. Still this case also it will work. See here 1.0014. See, according to our maximum value, it generating default value. See, so random.uniform, you can use it for any kind of range, for any condition. That means A equal to B, or A is greater than B, or A is less than B. So, yeah, and even this case also. Next, how to use random.uniform by using function. So what I'm doing, I'm creating def and I'm giving my function name. So here I given minimum value and maximum value, or you can consider this as A, this as B. So what I'm returning is random.uniform, minimum value, maximum value. So here I'm calling function, this function I'm calling here, and here minimum value, I want to generate float between 50 and 150. So that means minimum value is 50, maximum value is 150. So it's generating float value of 135.49. If you try to generate one more time, this value will change. So every time it will get changed. Next, how to generate random floats in loop. Suppose I want to generate 5 random float values between 1 and 100. Since I need 5 random float numbers, I'm using for I in range of 5. So that means 5 times it will iterate and it will give you 5 random float numbers. So in this, I'm giving random.uniform. Since I need a range between 1 to 100, I'm giving 1 to 100. So in first iteration, you're giving 75.19, 70.97, 61.37, 84, 92.56. Okay, so 5 random numbers it is giving. Next, how to generate a random float and use it in a calculation. Suppose first I'm generating one random float number by using random.uniform and a given range between 1 and 10. Next, what I'm doing on top of that random.float, I am multiplying by 2. So my result will get 2. So that means whatever it generates random value, it will multiply by 2 and it will give you result. Next, I'm trying to use one data set. So I have this data set and I am displaying this data frame and I have these many columns. So in this, what I'm doing, first I'm trying to find out minimum and maximum value of this particular column. What is this? Base last sales date. If you see here, base last sales date. So this is date column. So in this, I want to find out minimum date and maximum date. So for that, what I'm doing, I'm using aggregate function df.aggregate and minimum of this column. And on top of that, I'm using collect 0, 0. So why I'm using collect here? This this minimum value, it will give you data frame. Okay, df.aggregate. No, this will give in the form of data frame. But I need value. So to get value, I'm using collect 0, 0. So that minimum value, I will get it. And similar way for max also. So instead of minimum, I'm using max, and this will give me the minimum value. This will give me the maximum value. So I'm trying to print here. So I will try to run this data frame once. Okay, so now I will try to run this cell. Now it will give you minimum and maximum value. Okay, so from that particular column, this is the minimum value, 228, and 25, 12, 31, this is the maximum value. Okay, so now what I'm doing, I'm using random.uniform. On here, I'm using minimum value as this one, and maximum value as this one. So now what is this minimum value? This one. And what is maximum value? This one. If I try to generate value, see, it will give you the value in between these two, minimum and maximum value. So it giving 24, 9, 22. So date it is giving in between this minimum and maximum value. Okay, so this how we can use it, random.uniform function in Python. So that's all about this video. If you really like this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.